Hello and welcome to AIIM's World Paper Free Day 2016. I'm Allison Jersky, Event Specialist here at AIIM, and AIIM is your host and producer of today's event. We're glad you joined us today. World Paper Free Day isn't just about switching off the printers, it's about working smarter, decreasing the paper entry points, and improving our processes. Today is all about sharing our tips and learning from each other about how to start, continue, or finish our paper-free journey. By the end of World Paper Free Day, we hope you join us in unleashing your inner paper-free hero. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Abby, EMC Dell, eFile Cabinet, and O2. Without them, today's event would not be possible. Before we get started, let me give you some pointers for the best viewing experience. You can customize how you view the event. Feel free to open, close, or resize the different windows. Across the bottom of your screen is the list of all the widgets available to you. Feel free to comment or ask questions using the Q&A feature, which is to the left of the slides. Please note which hero or speaker your question is directed to. Be sure to engage in the group chat. Click the icon that's in the list along the bottom to open that window. In here, you'll be able to text chat with each other and with AIIM staff members. This is open to all participants. Please share your own tips for going paperless. We have numerous informative resources for you. Just look to the resources list window to the right of the slide. Now, to introduce who you've all been waiting for, our paper-free heroes. Abby's hero, Claudia Keinn, is the Senior Corporate Accountant for Wildman Business Group. Dell EMC's hero, Gerard Lennox, is the Manager of Engineering Solutions at Capitec Bank, South Africa. eFile Cabinet's hero, Chris Beebe, is the Director of HR and Education at Raleigh General Hospital. O2's hero, Rowan Jameson, is a Managing Partner of Business Services at O2. And now, our featured speakers. Unfortunately, Abby's hero cannot be here today, so speaking on Claudia's behalf will be Bruce Orcutt, Vice President of Marketing for Abby. Dell EMC's hero, unfortunately, cannot be here either. Speaking on Gerard's behalf will be Jim Hayes, Capture Product Marketing Lead of Dell EMC. eFile Cabinet's hero, Chris Beebe, will be here to speak, as well as O2's hero, Rowan Jameson. We are excited to have AIIM's very own president, Peggy Winton, with us today as our host, moderator, and featured speaker. To get World Paper Free Day started, let's turn it over to Peggy. Peggy?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Yes, today is a big day. We've been waiting for it for many, many weeks now, and we want to thank all of you for your social support. We have had literally thousands of likes and shares and touch points. It's very, very exciting, and we're so happy to welcome dozens of different industries and dozens of countries around the world. That tells me that everybody understands what it's like to be mired in paper, and we're all trying to do more with less. So I'm hoping that today you'll get back to work and do so with a bunch of great new tips. If this is your very first engagement with AIIM, we know we're welcoming many of our longtime members, but if you are joining us for the very first time, you should probably know that we've been at this for a long time. AIIM was actually founded in 1943, and certainly today's technologies weren't around back then, but throughout the years, we have always been an advocate for respecting information. As you know, information really has become the world's new currency. And with that comes a lot of responsibility as well as opportunities. And AIIM's goal and objective is to provide you with all the skills that you need to manage it. You know, most of us are information consumers or information brokers. We are touching information every day as we do our jobs. A subset of us are probably strategists when it comes to information, or I like to say information stewards. We really are responsible for all of the touch and connection points of information, regardless of what departments or what processes it's driving or what people and technology that it's touching. And it doesn't really matter today whether you're just a consumer or you're a steward. You're probably feeling some pain in one, if not all, of these three areas. Automation is a key topic today. How can we take what has been very paper and manual centric and take advantage of some great technologies and tools to automate what we're doing? And it's not just about cutting costs and realizing some efficiencies, but it's about enabling the business. Wow, if we can cut out a lot of the day-to-day drudgery and sap on our resources, think of the things that we can do to set information free. You may also be worried about protecting and securing your own information assets or those of your customers. That's a key area where maybe paper is not that safety blanket that everybody thought it was. And finally, how can we know what we have so that we can eliminate what we don't need and find those value nuggets in information? You can't really do that with paper. Talked about skills and our charge and our promise to you. And we do that at AIIM with a year-round program of activities. Some of it is based on research, and we're really, really proud of the fact that hundreds of you participate regularly and tell us things about your plans for spend on certain technologies, what's really driving that decision, and then maybe some obstacles that you experience along the way. And we're going to share a perfect example of our research efforts with you in just a minute. We also offer expert advice throughout the year. Today's webinar is just a classic example of some wonderful free programming that we offer. You can connect in person or virtually, as we're doing today. With AIIM, you get access to a community of 200,000 people around the globe in all walks of life, in all different industries, and in various levels of sophistication and maturity when it comes to information management. I promise that there's someone out there that's feeling what you are and is probably in an organization that has some of the same challenges and looks a lot like yours. So let us help connect you with those people. And finally, we offer deeper dives into your own personal and career development through some training and certification. So in this comprehensive report, and we just published it, so you're some of the very first to experience and learn about the findings. We took an in-depth look at the amount of paper in our offices, what the impediments to removing it really are, what are those realities, the take-up of tools and technologies like digital mailrooms and multi-channel capture, and the increasing exploitation of mobile and cloud. It's not a question of if, but when. And above all, we looked at the progress that organizations are making towards paper-free processes and the triggers and decision-making that goes into that. We also looked at the issues and the benefits and hopefully some real ROI. And all it takes is one great win to get the organization at large excited. Again, I want to personally thank the hundreds of you that participated in this research. Please know that an executive summary is always available to you at no charge from our website and in the resources section that Allison pointed to today. So over the next few minutes, I'd like to share a few of our key findings, and I'm hoping that it will provide a good baseline to our discussion as we go forward. Since the 1980s, we've really been looking at this concept of paper, and we've been advocating paper-free processes and businesses and a drive towards a more digital workplace. You hear a lot about that, today's digital workplace and digital transformation. At that time, back then, I don't think the technology and the people were really ready for this transformation, but today the approach to digitally transform businesses has really shifted. It's not a technology-first perspective, it's really a business-first and a business-centric approach, with paper-free processes becoming a key business imperative. It's a focal point, and it's an opportunity for many organizations to realize some immediate gains in efficiency and cost savings. And I hope you'll agree. So let's take a look at the first question we asked. We really looked at how would you describe the way things are in your office when it comes to paper? Are you there yet? Where are those areas that are still very, very much mired in paper? And we offered a variety of responses. Are people still attached to paper because of this concept or perception of the need for a sign-off and a signature? Are you looking at just key areas in your organization that can go paper-free? And here's what you told us, that despite widespread acceptance that reducing and removing paper is a best practice, in fact, you told us that you are getting greater demands from your customers to do this, and you get it. You get that it's a good thing. But only 25% of you indicate that you run a pretty clear and paper-free environment. Now, the good news on that is that figure is up from 18% from last year's report, and we've been doing this for the last few years. So that's good. But discouragingly, 65% of you say that you're still signing things on paper, even though there's wide and growing acceptance of digital and e-signature technology. I've heard someone refer to that need for a wet signature as the last mile between true manual and digital processes and transactions. That's a very big barrier, but it's one that can legally be overcome. And there's lots of solutions out there, and we've done research on that, and we can provide additional resources. So do not let that stop you. We also asked, okay, when it comes to volume, how's it going? Is it decreasing? Is the volume of paper decreasing in your organization, or is it increasing? Now, the good news there, too, is that overall it is decreasing. We've got a long way to go, but it is, and that's fantastic. Where are we seeing that reduction, and where are we seeing some real strides? We find that HR is a real leader in this space. Probably when it comes to recruitment and onboarding, I think that that's mostly likely to accommodate the needs of a new, younger workforce that's more digitally inclined. They're digital natives, and they simply don't interact with paper. And so a lot of HR professionals and a lot of recruiters are using things like LinkedIn and videography and all kinds of things for those interview processes and training when it comes to onboarding. So thank you, HR, and we're actually going to hear from an HR expert today. We said, okay, what about the progress? What about the progress you've made in your organizations? Is it limited to departmental? Have you rolled it out? Have you kind of exhausted where you think you can make some automation improvements? And while paper's still pretty dominant, we do see a 3% increase in progress over our report from last year, and 40% of you indicated that you've got a number of projects underway. 40%, that's really, really impressive, and I dare say our heroes today fall into that. We asked a further question about your environment for this. What else are you taking advantage of here? Again, driven by a disparate workforce and increased demand for those kinds of field interactions, 29% of you described a hybrid situation of both in-house centralized scanning of documents and a mobile-enabled document scanning and processing environment. That's a very good step. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. So kudos to you on that. What were the difficulties? What were the obstacles that you encountered along the way? Was it lack of management or executive support? Is it lack of education? Is it just a reliance? I mentioned safety blanket where paper is concerned. And most of you, again, acknowledge the benefits, and the interest certainly is growing. But there is a lack of management initiatives to move away from paper. 47% said that that's the case. And you also cited a lack of understanding and awareness when it comes to the options. What is available to you? 39% of you said it really is a lack of education on how to approach and initiate a paper-free project. We don't have to be talking about automation or going paper-free. I think AIIM's research through the years shows that it's usually not the technology at fault. It's a lack of training, and it's just a lack of change management. Darn, we humans get in the way every time, don't we? So what about the benefits? For those of you who have had some level of paper-free initiatives, what are the benefits? We've been tracking these responses for a few years, and happily the responses have moved from just a pure cost savings objective to a more business enablement with customer-centric bias. So proving once again that the business is a technology buyer today, and customer delight is really becoming a business imperative. So think about it. AIIM always says, remember that the paper you push out is going to come back to you. So don't do that. And it's definitely paying off. Those efforts are clearly paying off. We ask about ROI and payback time, and if you combine those two, that means from 0 to 6 months, you've got almost half of organizations reporting that they could see real benefit from that. So in summary, it's obvious that while interest and motivation toward a paper-free business environment is increasing, there's still a long road ahead, and we said that human factor is still the primary reason for paper use in handling and reading and note-taking. I think 47% of you said that. And that's the whole reason why we've gathered today and year-round for humans everywhere to stop and consider their options, and options that are supported by a very mature and proven set of solutions. You're going to hear from representatives of those solutions today. These are proven. They're very mature. They've been around for a long time. And what's stopping us? We've got all kinds of resources to help you. So keep these AIIM recommendations in mind today. 1, pick a process in your organization that's important. If it's trivial, don't do it. But if it's important because of volume or other objectives, but easy, something easy you can tackle. You know what I think one easy place to start is expense reports. If you're still doing those by paper, don't. There are all kinds of solutions, and if you've got a large organization, you will immediately see the benefits of that. Number 2, Take an iterative approach with a group of champions. Yes, it's hard to get people to do this in their spare time, but maybe incentivize them. And then, for heaven's sakes, trumpet the little successes. Finally, think of the ways that your colleagues and your partners can engage outside of the firewall, and how a more mobile and maybe appified set of transactions could be initiated. That's not an easy thing to get your head around, but it is really important. So let AIM help, and that's our story. And that's just one opinion from AIM. Now we get to hear from people who are actually doing this. They're actually doing this in the field. And first up, very, very excited to introduce to you a brief video from Claudia Keinn. Claudia is Senior Corporate Accountant at the Wildman Business Group. That's a uniform, linens, and other corporate supplies organization. So Claudia, let's hear her story.
In 1952, Rex Wildman purchased a dry cleaners in Warsaw, Indiana, founding what would grow into Wildman Business Group.
At Wildman Business Group, it's our mission to develop people to their fullest potential. And one of the key things that we look for in that is vendor relationships, such as Abby and user-friendly consulting, who's partnered with Abby to come in and help us develop efficiencies that make us more profitable.
But Wildman's expanding business meant a steep rise in invoices. By 2015, over 4,000 invoices a month were being manually entered into the company's ERP system.
At Wildman Business Group, you get used to taking on more. There's always something more to do, another project to work on. And we finally decided we were going to do a web portal for our customer employees to order corporate apparel. And when that happened, wow, there was a lot of invoices. Pretty soon it took staff over 50 hours a week to deal with all of these invoices. They had to print each one, check its PO, and then manually enter it into our Sage 100 system. Then, on top of that, they had to sort and file the invoices into lots of filing cabinets. And since manual entry can mean a lot of mistakes, we had a lot of verification. Plus, printed invoices were stacking up on everyone's desk, and not to mention the storage space that we needed for all of those invoices. So we either had to add to our accounts payable staff, or we had to automate. And in this case, we decided that automation was our best option. We interviewed several vendors, and I was still just unconvinced that they would be able to meet our unique needs. And then we made a lucky find, and we found Travis Spangler, the general manager of User Friendly Consulting. He introduced us to Abby FlexiCapture for Invoices.
Abby FlexiCapture for Invoices is ideally suited for Wildman Business Group. Its trainability and flexibility, its on-the-fly training, let us meet the needs that this unique business offered to us. But first off, our goal was to make this as simple as possible to understand. So what we did is we saved a copy of the data to Sage 100, and we saved a copy of the invoice to SharePoint Online.
What Travis and his team promised, they delivered in about a week. And the installation of Abby FlexiCapture for Invoices onto our server went very smoothly. Then we had to build in all of our business logic, and that whole process and the integration went very well. After that, we fine-tuned the product to accommodate our top 20 vendors. Then we used FlexiCapture's auto training feature to enable it to handle the remainder. Pretty much in no time, we were up and running smoothly. All invoice data is automatically captured by FlexiCapture from the invoice images and uploaded into our Sage 100 ERP system. And the images themselves then are sent straight into SharePoint. The invoices are automatically routed to the correct people for approval, and then the system validates the invoice data according to our custom rules. FlexiCapture's accuracy means that we spend a lot less time validating the data. And we used to spend about 50 hours a week processing invoices. Now we're down to about 40 hours a week processing an ever-growing number of invoices. That means that our staff now has time to spend on more profitable tasks. Since the software is working so well, and we have a strong relationship with User Friendly Consulting, we can't wait to start the next phase of our project. We'd like to use this to automate our vendor statements and also help apply customer payment.
Wow, talk about a complicated business. Supply chain, customer engagement, invoicing, contracting. Wow, Bruce, that's an amazing story, and we really, really appreciate your sharing it with us. Claudia is a very busy woman and couldn't join us for these 2 hours today, so you're here on her behalf, and we really appreciate it. Join me in welcoming Bruce Orcutt. He is the Vice President of Product Marketing and Management at AIIM, where he is responsible for enterprise software products, platforms, and solutions for financial services, insurance, transportation, manufacturing, as we just saw, and government, with an emphasis on accelerating transactions, improving competitive advantage, and reducing costs. Bruce, welcome. I believe you've got some lessons learned for us, and thanks again for sharing Claudia's story.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Peggy. We were very excited to be a part of this, and it was unfortunate that Claudia cannot be here. But on speaking on her behalf, really when she talked about in the video was her understanding of how to articulate the costs of not moving to this paper-free environment and not moving to a more automated system and getting control of this paper was very clear in her video, as well as in her decisions to move forward. She understood that by not getting control of this paper, they were going to have to hire more staff, have to buy more filing cabinets, have more storage space, all which increase costs without driving future benefit or revenues for the company. So one of the most important things for them in making this decision to go paperless and try to truncate these invoices at the earliest point in the process was to articulate the cost to management of not moving fast enough, because now they would say, I need another AP clerk. I need more storage space for these invoices. So there was a direct cost that she was able to communicate to her management to help validate and justify a move to going paperless. But also, one of the biggest things that our customers realize is when they articulate the need to go paperless, and they articulate the need to get control of all this incoming content into their enterprise, is they need to put it in personal context. Think about systems that they use. Think about how they interact with their banks and their insurance companies and the technologies they are leveraging as part of those ventures, and as a consumer, thinking about how they're leveraging those processes and how that could affect and impact their own businesses. So oftentimes a powerful argument and a big assistant in trying to create the right value proposition for your company to understand the benefits is to put it into personal context. How you deposit checks today, how you file a claim today with your insurance company. Those are all good relevant examples for how you can personalize this for your own work environment to motivate people to understand the benefits of going paperless. And then finally, the last point is really truly focus on the benefits of more information. Claudia spoke about the fact that they had tremendous success with this invoice project that they implemented, and now they're already looking forward to future projects with other document types, other lines of business applications, other processes. And what is the benefit of having more data from those documents within their systems to make better decisions, to act faster, to have more agility and better customer service? So there's significant benefits that can be derived from above and beyond the initial benefits of handling the paper and getting the information stored directly into their Sage system. So effectively, we thought this was a great case study, and we were really pleased that Claudia offered to support this endeavor because, again, it really demonstrates a small and medium-sized business benefiting significantly from going paperless and driving not only the benefit of the first project, but also looking to the future.
I really like your number one tip, Bruce. If people can't think of what they can achieve, maybe they start by saying, what would they lose if they don't do anything? That sort of total cost of failure idea. It might actually be easier for people to get their arms around that. So thank you. Thanks so much. And I know we'll be hearing from you in just a few minutes as we have a few more questions for you. Thanks again. That's just fantastic. We've got another hero coming up. We're going to be hearing from Gerard Lennox. He is the Manager of Engineering Solutions at Capitec Bank, South Africa, a large commercial bank.
And I'm the manager in the engineering solutions department. We're a retail bank, but we were founded in the year 2000. We're currently one of the top 5 banks in South Africa. And we're a very client-centric company, and hence the fact that we chose Documentum as our solution. The challenges that we were faced, that we wanted to change our approach to the client to be very client-centric. That is when we went to the market and we looked at workflow type systems, we did not find anything suitable for our needs. And then we decided to build our own workflow system using Documentum to support that. That gave us the workflow and the client-centric approach that we required. The reason we chose EMC as our partner in this is the fit for the purpose that we wanted. We're also familiar with the product because we were currently using it, and the ease of integration and the performance that we know that the Documentum can offer obviously satisfied our requirement. The solution that we currently use is to onboard a client, and that is to create a client, open a savings account for the client, and to assist the client for further needs. The way we do is by using Documentum, Expression, XCP, and Captiva Dispatcher. So the client will come into a branch, we will capture the client's details using Dispatcher. We will then create a case for that client, so we've got a holistic view of the client at any given time. We obviously use that for generating of legal agreements. The volumes that we're looking at is about 6,000 requests per minute at peak times, and we're looking at creating 400,000 cases per day on a very busy day. We use the EMC professional services quite extensively, and we also engaging in the DSE model. Probably the greatest benefit we get from using the EMC solutions is the fact that we've got the client-centric view, and we also, in a compliance space, it's very important to protect the client's data from a supporting point of view, from a back office supporting point of view. We've got all the information on the client available for anyone to review or audit at any point in time. There's also a huge drive in South Africa to know your client, and this gives us the facility to do that with ease. The biggest saving for us was in the time of service when you're sitting in front of a client. Previously, you had to capture all the data manually. Now we've got OCR that we're using with the Dispatcher product, that we're capturing those data automatically. So it shortens the time that you're physically not engaging with the client, and gives you the more time to spend with the client and assist more clients as well in that. I think the time that we saved with OCR and the whole product suite that we use in our solution, it should be, I think it's about 30% of the time that we're saving. So if you take that to numbers, it's a lot of money that you're not spending for a client to interact with unnecessary items. The type of interaction is physically in the branch. So we've got some of our merchants, we do have a statement generation function that we're using, and we're using Expression to do that. So on a monthly basis, we'll generate a statement, and we'll provide those statements to every merchant that banks with Capitec. The future for us using Documentum solutions would be, we're very interested in the cloud offering that EMC has got available, and we're also looking at the Dispatcher in the mobile space for assisting the clients not only in a branch but also anywhere, anytime. We do have users that's using mobile devices for assisting or capturing client details. That is why Leap, previously Project Horizon, it's going to give us a lot of insight in that space.
With the time difference in South Africa, it was a little problematic for Gerard to join us live today, but speaking on his behalf is Jim Hayes. Jim, we really appreciate that story, and we understand that as the Capture Product Manager and Marketing Lead at Dell EMC, you're responsible for a focus on the Captiva and the Capture product suite. And I know that you've worked in the European market for, 12 years, where you were responsible for building and expanding partnerships to promote the products and solutions. So added insight there is much appreciated. Gerard was so passionate about this, and Capitec really prides itself on a one-stop banking solution. So talk about a customer-first initiative, no pressure there. What tips have you got, and what lessons learned would you say Gerard would be sharing with us today, Jim?
Yeah, thank you very much, Peggy. I'm glad you enjoyed the video. And yeah, first of all, thanks out to Gerard Lennox at Capitec Bank for providing the insights. We really feel like Gerard exemplifies a paper-free hero. And we want to highlight a few of those tips and kind of the best practices from the Capitec success story. So first, and I think this is fundamental to all capture projects, is really being successful in eliminating paper as it enters the organization. And that's in all paper-based formats, traditional paper, fax, even email with attachments and PDF, those types of incoming formats. And most importantly in this case is really extending those capture services out to those remote locations. So, and Peggy, as you mentioned earlier, we've been using these capture technologies for over 20 years to convert paper to digital format, and it has been very successful, but as you also recognize from your data points, only in the past several years have we seen a slow decline in terms of overall paper volume. So Gerard really highlights some of the unique challenges faced in his paper-free initiative, and that they were successful in capturing and eliminating paper both first at the back office and then extending the reach out to the remote offices for one of their most highly prized applications, which is customer onboarding. So as he mentioned as well, up to 400,000 cases per day, and it was clear that their business could not move at the speed of paper anymore. They really need a scalable solution that could interact with their customers in real time. So Gerard's team was really successful in challenging the onboarding processes that were traditional within the organization, and then applying really innovative approach to document capture, which leads us to the second tip or lesson learned from our champion here, and that aligns as well with some of the research from AIIM, is automating manual processes. And how would you do this in this specific onboarding case is through advanced recognition, and this is basically a software solution that can automatically sort or classify data as it comes into the organization, and then apply, as Gerard mentioned, OCR, or optical character recognition, to extract all the relevant metadata or attributes from the images themselves. So he applied a really innovative approach in pushing OCR out to the field offices so that these folks wouldn't have to manually index or type in the information as the customer was standing there in front of them. So it was a really innovative approach, and this equaled a 30% savings in terms of eliminating those manual processes and eliminating paper directly as it entered the organization. And the benefit from his standpoint was the ability for these folks or field bankers or agents in the field to concentrate specifically on the customer's needs. So Gerard was really successful in two areas: eliminating paper, one, and also driving growth and success within the organization. And if you look at some of the recent financials, they've grown at adding over 1 million new customers per year over the last 3 years, and last year by growing their business by over 25%. So really strong growth rates using these type of innovative customer-facing solutions. So what we find as well is this aligns with a lot of the data from AIIM, in that over 50% of the organizations surveyed are planning to implement more advanced recognition capture solutions. And one of the reasons is, and this is highlighted as well and kind of validated from a McKinsey study, is that automating end-to-end processes, which used to take 12 to 18 months, is now doable in 6 months, and as McKinsey quotes, at half the investment typically required. So this again points to the quick ROI. What we also found from surveys from our own customer base is up to 92% of our customers are achieving a return on investment with automated capture within the first 12 months. So these are some of the strongest return on investment numbers we've ever seen from capture. Okay, so once he has captured the information and extracted and automated the processes at these remote field offices for onboarding these new customers, the next logical step is really adding more innovative or new technologies to engage more with customers. And as you can see here, the obvious are what we call real-time and mobile capture solutions. And again, in Gerard's case, he's really looking for the suite that allows these bankers to capture onboard information, process, validate the user information, and in this case, they're now set up to provide microloans within 15 minutes. So really revolutionary, going from hours and days to process a microloan down to 15 minutes. And what he highlights is really that level of integration needed to support remote offices and these quick lending decisions. And those are based on, as you mentioned, Peggy, proven and established business rules from the back office. So really applying these back office rules out to these remote offices to get the best in customer service. So Gerard again proves a hero in this case, not only in eliminating paper at the central and remote locations, but also working to extend the solution through mobile capture as an example. So we all know mobile banking as a way to reduce paper. You don't need statements or printouts anymore. And in a similar way, mobile capture eliminates the need to create paper documents in the first place. So a great example of this in the onboarding process is now a banker can take an image of an ID or passport, capture the information, validate it, as Gerard mentioned, through OCR, and really validate the authenticity of the applicant in real time and eliminate the need to make a photocopy or any type of paper-based image of that ID in the first place. So another great example of leveraging mobile capture to eliminate the need to create paper in the first place. So yeah, so in summary, I think retail and banking in general is one of the most innovative and at the same time the most disruptive markets worldwide. And we feel that Gerard's video really highlights Capitec's transformation and their success in eliminating paper and driving value out to their customers. And one last point, and this aligns as well, Peggy, with what you mentioned, is the final takeaway that we have from this is that, banking is a fast-moving market, but these technologies are available now. So whether it's centralized high-volume capture, remote capture in real time to help out at these field offices, or mobile capture to directly integrate and enhance customer experience, we're here to work with companies right now to eliminate paper and really automate these manual processes.
Wow, Jim, thank you so much. 15 minutes for the microloan. That's impressive. As someone who's settling on a piece of property and real estate right now, I wish my mortgage lender could could learn from that. That's amazing. That's incredible. Thanks. And you mentioned a lot of technologies. I know we'll get down into more of the specifics about that when we do the Q&A. Thanks again, Jim. Really, really impressive. Please remember to use our Q&A tool to submit some questions. We'll hold those until later in our program, and we'll do our very best to get to them. And at any time, please submit your own tips, and we'll be sharing those too. We'll insert them when we can, but we'll definitely get to them at the end as well. Before we hear from our third paper-free hero, we're going to take a little break and put our customers' feet to the fire. A fun little question for you. Use your live polling tool that you'll see on your screen right now and answer the question. Which movie title best describes your own paper-free journey so far? Is it Mission Impossible? We don't even know where to begin, so we need help. Is it Failure to Launch? I'm still interested, but I'm still in the information gathering stage and maybe stalled a bit. Is it The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? The good is I've started my paper-free journey. The bad is I'm encountering some issues removing my ugly paper. Or finally, is it superstar? My paper-free project is off the ground, doing great. Happy to help and share. Which one would best describe your own organization's paper-free status or journey in movie titles? We'll give you a few seconds to play along. Okay, everybody weighed in? Ready to see the results? No? Looks like we've got a more mature group here, already well on the journey here. Good, bad, and the ugly? About what, 60% of the way there? Fantastic. Yes, overwhelming. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Great. Great job. We've got some ways to go, but you're certainly not starting from zero. Congratulations. That's great. We'll do another one in just a little bit. And now, let's hear from our next paper-free hero. Chris Beebe is the Director of HR and Education at Raleigh General Hospital. He is here, sponsored by eFile Cabinet, and he is ready to tell his own story. And again, I can't think of many industries where more paperwork exists than a hospital or other healthcare facility. So excited to hear what Chris has done.
My name is Chris Beebe. I'm the Director of Human Resources. Currently, we have a little over 1,100 employees, but this is our low season. During our peak season, we can get up to about 1,200. Right after I got here at the hospital, when I started looking at my systems, I asked who controls our certifications, and I was being told from one group, oh, well, they have them over there. I'm being told from that group, no, they have them over here. So the reality was nobody really had ownership of it. And definitive ownership in this game is a must. And the best idea was to bring that back to HR, but in order to do that, I had to pull education files from every department and consolidate them. In order to do that, I had to find a place to consolidate them. So we looked all over the hospital, where's a good room that we could acquire to fill up with filing cabinets. Then we priced out the cost of filing cabinets. You know, we're talking almost 1,200 employees, so that's what I got to prep for. Plus I got to buy folders for 1,200 sets of folders. It was just painful. So I sent out a list to all of my directors and said, hey, does anybody use an electronic filing system? eFile Cabinet came back from one director and said, yeah, here's what we use and I like it. So that's when I called eFile Cabinet and said, hey, let's talk. The guy set me up with a demo. We looked at it. I said, this makes sense. I had probably a dozen filing cabinets in my office, and I'm talking the ones that are big, deep, 6 feet tall. I mean, huge filing cabinets, and they're all gone. It's just unbelievable how much time we save. If I wanted to see an employee's write-up, well, I had to get up from my desk, I had to walk into the other room where the files are kept, find the right filing cabinet, open up about 3 or 4 drawers before I actually find the right one. And then when you find the right drawer, you got to go through each file one at a time until you get the right name, hoping that everybody put them back in the right spot. You find the file, you pull it out, and then you got to go through the file and look for each of the documents. What was bad about our system is we were using a simple 2-brad entire file in one set of brads, which means if I wanted to pull up a document and make a copy of it, I'd have to take out every document put in before that, make that copy, put it back, and then hopefully get it all right back in, because if it shifts, it's not happening. You got to go through one document at a time. It was just painful. And then you have to put the file back in the right spot, close your drawers, get back over to your desk. It just took them out of time. It was unreal. I'd say the fastest I could find a file would be maybe 30 seconds if I was just super lucky. But typically, I'd say at least a minute just to find one file. And if you're looking for 10, yeah, it's going to be a while. eFile Cabinet makes finding files so fast it's ridiculous. I timed it one day. I said, how long is it really going to take? And I sat down and I said, okay, picked a name, and I said, I'm going to look for their CPR certification. Click, 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 click. I timed it 10 seconds. I was in their file. I just type in the last name, it pulls up their file instantly. I don't have to search through cabinet after cabinet after cabinet. It's just so simple. It saves so much time. It's unreal.
We're really lucky because we've got the man himself here. Chris Beebe is a seasoned HR professional with over 20 years of experience. Chris is known for his ability to strategize to align HR systems to the business objectives. Chris is very well qualified and very well educated with an undergraduate in administrative management and psychology, an MBA in HR management, and a PhD in organizational management. Chris holds the Senior Professional in Human Resource Certification as well as the SHRM, that's the big association for HR professionals, the Senior Certified Professional designation. Chris, thanks so much. Again, tell us a little bit about what we might have missed without seeing the whole video, and what are some of the tips you've learned?
Well, certainly. I'm going to go right into my tips, and then if I got a minute left, I'll kind of recap the video for you. So my first tip is planning is critical. And I say this because I cannot stress it enough. You know, you need to start your planning with your end product in mind. You know, what do you envision that final product to be? You know, for us, it was taking 1,200 employee files from a paper system that's been around a long time and probably hasn't even been upgraded in many, many years. And how do we move that digital? And our process, we also wanted to see how do we improve the formatting of our employee files while we're making that transition. So what I did is I got my entire team together, and we had multiple meetings so that we could discuss everybody's input as to what they think that final product should look like. You know, there's a little arguing across the table because one person would want one thing, somebody else would want another, but you got to come up with what's going to be best overall for the group. And we were able to do that. And that's what I encourage is make sure that you think what that final plan is going to be before you start anything. And then once you have your plan, you know where you want to go, now you got to figure out how you're going to get there. And you do that by thinking through each step individually. You want to compare your current system to your proposed system and look at each step it's going to take to get there and think about those one by one. And the reason you do that is when you think and focus and concentrate on one step, you're more likely to think of something that you might have missed when you were trying to do the big picture thinking. So you really want to delve into the weeds there a little bit so that you make sure you don't miss anything. Time investment. You know, that's what you need to look at this as. You're investing time on that front end. You know, the more time you spend on the front end, the less time you're going to spend on the back end trying to fix things that you didn't think about. So I really encourage you to do that. You know, but if you do end up missing something, it's not the end of the world. Don't stress. It's okay because you're still going to have the ability to modify your system. You know, you can always do something else to it if you need to. But I really encourage on the front end, that's where you want to spend your time. So my second tip is scan it all. You know, initially we wanted to scan in our employee files, but then we had to think, you know, what else can we scan? This is great. What else? Because you want to get rid of as much paper as you can. And we started looking at other things, and we found some things. We're like, well, we just stick those in a filing cabinet in case we need them someday, so why not scan those? Our issue was it didn't fit into our system that we currently had. But different is okay. Just because it didn't fit into the system I designed doesn't mean I can't branch out a little bit and design something for this other product that I want to put into a digital format. You know, you always have that ability to make modifications and expand your system if you need to. You know, because space is valuable. We took out about a dozen of those very large 4-drawer, you know, 2-foot wide, no, probably 4-foot wide filing cabinets out of my departmental office. And I'll tell you, that's given us a huge amount of space that we can now use for other things. We've been able to put another desk in, give somebody some breathing room, all because we got rid of that paper. So I'll tell you, think about it. Think about how much space you would have if all that paper just magically disappeared one day. It's quite a concept. So my third tip was don't print. If you don't need to print it, don't. A lot of us, we like to print emails. Why? You can save them electronically just in Outlook, but it's habit. It's conditioning that we've had over the years. I'll tell you, evaluate your process. Does that piece of paper really need to be printed? Think about it. Because this is a learned behavior, you're going to need to make sure that this is addressed with your workforce as well. You got to train them to think differently about paper, or else you're never going to win the battle. Digital signatures, like Peggy said, 65% of us still are signing paper. Why? There's lots of software solutions out there that provide digital signature tools. All you got to do is figure out which one's going to work best with your system, and then, get it up and running. So we've currently gone to the paperless portion, and now we're working on the paperless in processing. Like Peggy said, HR uses a lot of paper, and we know. And we're trying to get rid of as much as we can. And now we're in that stage of how do we get rid of the paper for new hires to come on board. So we just switched our system over. We're not at digital signatures yet, but I'm seriously looking at them for some of the documents. Some of them we do have a platform for, but some like your I-9, that's required by the government. They still don't have a way for us to do it electronically, but we're looking into seeing how we can do that. So lastly, time is money. The more time you spend on that one document, we were all taught, touch a document once. Don't put it in your inbox, pull it out, touch it again, put it back in your inbox, because that wastes time. Well, so does printing a document, signing a document, scanning a document back in. It's just a time waster. So the more we can think of how do we cut down on the paper, the more we get back our time, we get back our space, and we get back our productivity by not having to touch paper a whole bunch of times. I'll tell you, my secret was simply get rid of the paper, and we've really increased our productivity dramatically. It's been incredible. Jim was speaking earlier about OCR, and I'll tell you, that's one of the best things about our online system. Because of that OCR, if you ever stuck a piece of paper in the wrong folder in a filing cabinet, how long did it take you to find it? Forever, because you don't know where to look, because you don't know where you stuck it, because you stuck it someplace by accident. Well, when you use an OCR platform, what I can do is I can type in a person's name in the document I'm looking for, and it's going to tell me where it is, even if it's in the wrong file. So then I can go ahead and move it to the right file. It's a great tool to have. So now let me recap my video. And what my video did is it talked about our processes that we did here at the hospital. So when I first got here, I realized we didn't have a good mechanism for tracking some of the required things that we're required to track here in healthcare. And so when I looked at trying to figure out how we were going to create that filing system, that's when we realized I had to go out and buy another dozen or so filing cabinets, plus the folders, plus all the things that you would need to get that system up and running. And that's when we decided to look into an electronic filing system. I chose eFile cabinet because it worked for me.
Jim, we've got overwhelming demand by the audience to try that video clip again, so we'll save you from your effort. You've done such an awesome job of jumping in here. I think we've got the technology back up and running, so if it's okay, lots of people have asked, they want to hear it. They want to hear the story, so shall we try it again?
That works for me.
Okay, let's try this now. Here we go. Well, it looks like this isn't resolved yet, so we'll bring Chris back here. So sorry about that. So Chris, go ahead and give us a little summary then, and as we said earlier, we will make sure that our audience gets the full unfrozen version of your great story. Do you mind?
No, certainly.
Thanks.
So when I got here, like I was saying, I was faced with an issue of how to create a system that wasn't in existence anymore. And that's when I started looking at the digital platform. Because knowing if I had to spend X number of dollars to get the file and cabinets and the paper and everything else, why couldn't I just spend that same amount on an electronic software system? So I asked the other folks in my corporate, is anybody else using one of these systems? And somebody had said, yeah, they use eFile cabinet. So I checked into it. I had a demo. It did everything I needed it to do. And, I kind of fell in love with the software instantly because it works for me. And I've been very happy with the product because I was able to implement it the way I wanted to implement it. And that's important to me as a strategist. I want things to be done my way because my way fits into all the different pieces of my strategy. And they were able to do that. And that's one of the things I really liked about the software. But what we've learned is it's not just getting rid of the paper. It's getting rid of those processes that still enable you to create paper. Like I was saying, we have an onboarding system that we've now switched to electronic. Instead of employees coming in and filling out pieces of paper, they're doing it on a computer system and they send that information to us electronically. So we're stopping the paper right off the get-go, which is really the way you want to do it. It saves us time, it saves my staff time, and it also speeds up our hiring process. So our productivity is really doing well for us.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Pretty much caps my video, so I'll turn it back over to you, Peggy.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris, and I mistakenly called you Jim. I know you're Chris. Thanks. Thanks a lot. I can see from the questions coming in, we'll have a lot of fun. We've got some other healthcare providers out there, so really appreciate the personal story, and we'll tap you for more information in just a minute. Our last but not least hero today is Rowan Jameson. Rowan is Managing Partner for Business Services at O2, and O2 is a telecom services provider in the UK with focus on mobile enablement at the heart. And this is an interesting story because O2 sort of had a taste of their own medicine and applied some of their own solutions that they make available to others to really realize some efficiencies and paper elimination in their own organization. So let's hear Rowan's story.
Here at O2, we're passionate about the benefits digital technology brings to all aspects of our lives. While paper is a big part of traditional businesses, it's becoming less and less relevant to the flexible mobile lifestyle that today's workers are beginning to expect. The days of being chained to a desk are long gone. I'm based at our head office here in Slough, but in reality, you're more likely to find me visiting my team in Preston Brook or Leeds, attending industry events in London, quite frankly, up and down the country. Carrying around printouts or reports of my schedule is just not practical. I need to be able to access everything I need from any of my devices, wherever I am.
Digital solutions, which are increasingly part of the business process, not only reduce paper consumption, but also significantly improve productivity and efficiency. So I think this initiative from O2 can only help to highlight the benefits of making paper a thing of the past.
We are really excited to lead on the paperless office rollout. With no organisation claiming to go fully paperless, we really wanted O2 to be the first.
Throughout the project, we made sure everyone was supported with the right tools. We uploaded really easy-to-follow user guides to our online share portal to tools like OneNote and OneDrive, and we organised drop-in sessions and online webinars hosted by our in-house experts.
There was great team spirit and encouragement across the team. Everybody was sharing their best ideas and the applications that they found that supported them in making the transition.
We launched 2 new systems. One was a new digital expenses app which replaced the paper-based way we previously did it, and we've also started rolling out an e-signature solution to take the hassle out of printing and signing contracts.
I nominated an individual within my team as the paperless champion. They were on hand to be able to support the team with any issues or challenges that they faced. They released weekly updates with paperless best practice tips.
It wasn't all plain sailing, however. Research has shown that it takes about 3 days to break a habit. And initially people did feel daunted by the prospect of having to do away with notebooks and other familiar methods of working.
If you went to a meeting and you had your laptop open, you know, people would wonder what you were doing. Were you writing emails? Were you doing something you shouldn't be? Whereas now, actually, because we've all embraced going paperless, I think it's, it's quite normal. Everybody's got their laptop out.
Feedback from my team was really positive. They found that they could be more effective and more productive. When they were on site with customers, they were able to access all information and all previous notes, so they had a really good audit trail. They found that it was a more secure way of working and that they could talk to their customers about the experiences that they'd been through.
We are really pleased with the results. It has had a massive impact on our productivity, saving up to 3 hours per week per person.
By being more digital, everyone came to not only embrace but also advocate the initiative.
I've learned that it's possible to be paperless in all kinds of aspects of life, and it's brilliant.
In June of last year, Workwise UK was delighted to back O2's Paperless Journey initiative. Much has occurred since then, and I have to say the results are both impressive and inspiring. Clearly, as one of the UK's leading organisations, O2 are to be commended for their implementation of paperless office solutions and are a true exemplar to other businesses who are yet to embark on their own paperless journey.
It makes it easier to share, edit and distribute information more quickly and more securely. It's key for supporting mobile, flexible and collaborative working. And as we've proved here at O2, the increase in productivity, secure working, cost savings and the environmental benefits speak for themselves.
That was great hearing from all of your colleagues, Rowan. Rowan Jameson is the managing partner of the business services practices at O2. She's responsible for delivering the short and long-term strategy of the practice within the UK against the following key performing indicators. No surprise there, customer satisfaction, big one, growth, profitability, and innovation. Welcome and thanks so much for sharing your story. Sounds like it really took sort of an all-in approach at O2. Tell us more about that and some of the lessons that you learned.
Great, thank you for the introduction, Peggy, and I'm absolutely delighted to be able to be here today to share with you our top 3 tips on going paperless. As you can see from the video, these have been learned from our first-hand experience when we implemented the paperless office at O2. Through this process, we gained really valuable experience, both at an individual level, but also at a team management level. So our top tip number 1 is you absolutely need to take people on the journey with you. It's said that it takes about 21 days to make or break a habit, which I do believe in. However, I think when you're looking at a paperless initiative or a program, particularly across a large corporate business, it involves a significant cultural change and changing ingrained working practices. And this really needs to be considered as part of the implementation and adoption. This is a program that just can't be changed overnight, and some individuals or teams, it may take a longer period than that, 21 days. And so you really just need to be cognizant about that as you're going through it. Different people and teams will move at different paces, and this needs to be built in as the change is driven through the business to ensure that people are taken on the journey and really buy into it. As an individual, I invested in a tablet and then selected a cloud-based application for note-taking, which really suited my needs and enables me to access information from any device, anywhere, at any time. It offered me really significant time saving in finding notes from when I'd previously used paper. One of the benefits for me in particular was that I usually forgot to date stamp my paper-based notes, so it was always quite tricky to find old information. But actually using an electronic version really allowed me to data mine and find those notes really quickly, as it's all automated for me. In the AIIM survey results covered earlier, it was stated that 75% of organisations cite change management as the biggest difficulty in driving and delivering paper-free process projects. To help overcome this as a business, we ran paperless office trials. At the end of each trial, we surveyed people and asked for their feedback. We published the results and addressed the feedback in the next trial, which leads neatly on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is about education. As I just said, one of the main areas of feedback that we received from the first trial is that people weren't confident in some of the digital tools that were available to them. So in response to this, we put in place webinars to support the education journey, and we also set up drop-in sessions for more one-to-one related discussions. The feedback from these was really positive. In addition, we nominated paperless champions from various parts of the business who were there to support on a day-to-day basis with any questions and queries. We also sent out relevant videos from YouTube and lynda.com, which we use as an online education system that gave people information about moving to paperless and the benefits that they could gain. And we also sent out weekly hints and tips. The AIIM survey results state that 50% of organisations cite educating compliance of staff and the new processes as the biggest difficulty in driving and delivering paper-free process projects. And that was an area that we were really trying to address in the way that we managed it within the business. And for my final kind of top tip, which is about sharing best practice. In my team, we had regular catch-ups to understand and share the progress and challenges that were being encountered. I had a paperless champion nominated in my team who was the go-to person for any support. In addition, my team would work together to support each other through the challenges they encountered and share their learning. It took my team 2 months to become fully paperless. We wanted to ensure that people were recognised for the efforts that they made, and individuals who drove paperless initiatives were nominated and recognised in public forums by our senior leadership team to help promote the progress that was being achieved. At the end of our final phase of the implementation, we conducted a survey, and the results were absolutely incredible. On average, people saved a huge 3 hours per week by moving from paper to digital technology. 91% of people were either as productive or more productive. We moved to digital expenses, and we had a reduction of about 8,000 paper envelopes per annum. 50% of people increased their use of collaboration tools. We're now offering paperless experience sessions to our customers to review how we can support them with their paperless journey. Thank you for your time and listening. I look forward to the questions and answer session.
Thank you. Thanks again, Rowan. And yes, it's time for all of you to submit any questions that you have. We've already got a great list. And to avoid going sort of back and forth between the speakers that you've already heard from, we'll allow them a few minutes each to tackle some questions that you've submitted that seem most appropriate for them. And certainly, if you want to ask very specific questions that either Bruce could answer, or Jim could answer, or Chris or Rowan, please indicate that when you submit it. But we're going to start with Bruce now. Bruce, we in AIIM's recent research that I just shared talked a little bit about a sort of a hybrid environment as maybe a baby step or a first step for some organizations. Do you think that mobile apps are just sort of the de facto and are just going to take over this market and become the preferred digital channel?
Well, longer term, there's no doubt the impact of mobility will be significant on the desire to go paperless or achieve the goals of digital transformation. So mobile and mobility is extremely important because essentially every consumer, every customer that you are targeting or working with, every partner you're working with has effectively a scanner in their pocket. And it is by far the most preferred channel that consumers and employees really want to interact and engage you on. So the impact of mobility cannot be underestimated. It is a significant transformational technology that is really changing how our customers and our processes that we're supporting are being altered to really enable this real-time, engaging type of process that customers are demanding from mobile. So it's really an impactful technology, and we love it because it really is accelerating this move to digital and this move to paperless.
It is that user expectation, and you know, the smartphone made us all little businesses in our own right. We can adjust the temperature in our houses, and we just expect things like that to work when we come into work, whether we're inside or outside the firewall. As a follow-up to that, what do you think the obstacle is for more appified or mobile-friendly
It's really about the customer experience and the usability. So the challenge that we've seen now is that traditional capture, back office capture scanning systems were pretty rigid, assembly line driven, and were not built for the end user in mind. Whereas the mobility solution is self-service. It is real time. And so the pivot and the change that occurs to support that customer base, it's more about the experience than it is about the technology and capabilities. And so the challenge that companies have had trying to move forward is they're taking the old capture processes and trying to push them to the phone, and that's not working for the users. The users really expect, as you indicated, this expectation of now and this expectation of this gamification of their user experience. And it's more about the experience than it is about the technology. So the vendors are having to catch up with what the user's expectations are. But that is happening definitely in the market, and it is driving rapid growth and rapid acceptance of mobility overall.
Claudia shared their experience and where they really started at Wildman Group. What do you think are some of the best and easiest processes to automate or digitize, and what would you recommend as a good starting point?
Some of the most mature solutions are around the accounts payable invoice processing segment. So that's exactly what Claudia achieved, and now she's looking to go accelerate and build solutions for other use cases in HR and other parts of their manufacturing business. So accounts payable is a very well understood, very horizontal solution that we've seen a lot of success in. In new account opening, customer onboarding, any time when you're engaging a customer and you need a supporting document or information from them, those are always ripe for automation. And therefore, you can then push that burden of the process to that user who's willing to accept that interaction, accept that burden of submitting a trailing document to you because they're waiting for their account to be opened. And so new account opening, customer onboarding use cases, any customer service or citizen benefit enrollment type use case, we're seeing as a low-hanging fruit, because not only are you improving the outcomes for your customers, but you're also improving your business outcomes by reducing costs, accelerating transactions, and providing a more agile environment for your entire enterprise.
Thank you. That's great, and those really are that's really some good advice that you can't just, what do we usually say, pave the cow path if it wasn't good to begin with. So you can't just take a manual process and think that you can mobilize it. That's real good advice. Thank you. Thanks so much. Jim, Capitec and Gerard. Wow, that was a great use case. I'm sure you guys have other examples of customers that are going down this path of eliminating paper-based processes. Can you share a few examples of industries, whether you can call the organizations by name or not? We'd love to hear some other examples.
Absolutely, Peggy. Yeah. And thanks again. I think in just about every use case we've been successful that I know of in eliminating paper. Some that kind of stand out are the ones that really take it to the next step. One that we have, and this is also an international company in the Netherlands in financial services, they had about 34 people processing emails. So now it sounds kind of counterintuitive because you'd think these are coming in digital format, but as Chris mentioned, people have the tendency to print these things out, right? So they had these 34 people opening the email, then the attachment, and then a large percentage of these were being printed out. And it was really about, and it's similar to Gerard's case, is looking at the process and figuring out the weak spots. So they really disrupted their own business process around email import, and they implemented an automated solution that we created called Email Import, and basically allowed them to apply automated classification, OCR, of the TIFF or the PDF image, and from there they could kick off workflows and help with claims processing, those types of things. So in the end, they were able to move from 34 people down to 5, and those 5 were basically just handling then the exceptions. So this was a really great example of kind of taking a a manually intensive process that favored printing paper and automating it and then putting those people into more customer-facing or revenue-generating positions.
Thank you. This is a great question from one of our audience members. In serving all your customers, Gerard or otherwise, did you ever find a business case where paper remained the better solution?
I would say, and there are those individual cases around, especially like mortgage loan processing, where a certain signature field is required still. But as some of the folks have mentioned today, with digital signature, we're really moving away from those individual use cases that require paper. And in fact, we're starting to see organizations apply a lot of technology to eliminate even things like fax as it comes into the organization. So a good example that we have is a top 5 insurance company here in the U.S. that's basically looking, and again, kind of looking internally to disrupt legacy applications. And they went out and they found this fax servers, multiple fax servers running in volumes, and it turned out to be about 5% of the overall volume coming into the organization was still in fax. And they basically swapped this out in favor of a mobile capture application. And the real benefits are not only better image quality because the mobile device is taking kind of more of a pristine image, but also the ability to apply OCR more effectively to the scan or to the captured mobile image. And also the last point, and this is the one that really stands out, is the ability then to engage in real time with that end user. So if anything's missing, like a trailing document, supporting document, as we mentioned before, maybe an onboarding, you need an ID or a picture, some kind of proof of residence, or W-2 or tax form. Basically, they can take a picture of that image immediately, whereas in the past, they'd have to make a copy of it, fax it in, and then it would basically go into one of those static mailroom queues that was very, 3 to 5 day processing time. So yeah, we're starting to see a lot more in terms of automating even extended paper-based processes.
So on the flip side, what about some customers of yours that have gone completely paperless? Any examples there, or what type of actions they're driving through that?
Yeah, I think financial services are kind of driving this forward. So as you get into these mobile applications, you really start to see that they're really well integrated within the banking application. And then a lot of times you'll have this real-time capture component that's embedded within the enterprise portal or the solution itself. So what we're starting to see is, through paperless statements, through the ability to take an image of the document as needed and attaching documents to those files as well, that a lot of these financial services customers and folks that we work with are really getting to the point where they haven't completely eliminated all paper entering the organization, but they're really extending these mobile technologies out to their customers to try to really engage in real time and eliminate that need for paper in the first place. And one last point, this is kind of from some research that we've been doing, is that these customers that are really providing, or these financial services customers that are providing all of this technology out to their end users or their clients themselves, are starting to see a much higher likelihood. So they're really doing kind of more, from predictive, prescriptive analytics. They're starting to realize, that 50%, there's a greater likelihood for these clients to open a credit card account if they're engaged through multiple portals or using the mobile app as well as the online applications, and even up to a 20% likelihood of opening a mortgage with that financial institution, which really helps in expanding their footprint. So, yeah, I have to say paper's still around, but a lot of these innovations are driving, paperless environments.
Great. Good. Thanks. Good response. Chris, again, apologies for the video. We'll make sure everyone gets your full story. As suspected, though, the audience has a lot of questions for you. What process did you and your team go through when you chose the particular solution we've talked about today? Who was part of that decision?
Well, like I said earlier, I chose that one basically because it was the only one that my company had already vetted and dealt with. I only had one other hospital. We're a 47 hospital system, and only one other hospital was currently using this kind of software. And because it was with eFile Cabinet, I instantly called them, and I was so pleased with the information that they told me and what they had to say that's where we made our decision. But the decision was based on the input from our CEO, our CFO, basically our entire O-suite, and myself were involved in that decision.
What do you think your very best benefit from going paperless has been?
As silly as it is, when I have a manager walk into my office and want to talk about a document, I can pull that document up in 10 seconds or less. I mean, it doesn't take me any time at all to pull it up. While they're actually talking, I can pull it up. Where you used to have to go find the filing cabinet, find the right drawer, pull the drawer out, find the right file, and hopefully the document's somewhere in that file. It doesn't take me that long. I just type in the name and the document and hit enter, and boom, there it is. And that saves me so much time.
We always say, I think there was a stat we were moving around, and maybe some of our partners and providers out there were helping us with that something like 80% of our business day is spent just looking for the information we need to do our jobs. And it's kind of like, where's my stuff? And that is so basic, but isn't it true? Good point there.
I'm wondering how I functioned all these years without it.
True. Several of you have mentioned OCR, and you certainly concurred and even supported some of the things that Jim was saying. One of our audience members is asking, how did your organization in particular deal with any legal or regulatory issues for retaining the image as a business record from paper? Can you speak to that at all?
So the only document that like I said, we still have to print and actually have a print signature on is our I-9. But that's the only document that we could find that we had any sort of issue with. Everything else, a photocopy is acceptable. I've looked at all the HR regs and the laws that pertain to retaining our documents, and as long as I have a legible copy and I know that it was a copy of the original, then I'm fine to keep it.
Okay.
But that's for my industry. It could be different in a different industry, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. And finally, if you had your preference, would it be cloud or on-premise in terms of what systems and access and storage and all that good stuff, and why?
Well, that is a great question because I'm torn on this one. Because I'm in healthcare, we have a lot of rules regarding HIPAA and privacy and security of information, so we're not allowed to have it in a cloud. I have to have it on a local server where it's secured on-premise. But I'll tell you the benefits. I went to an eFile Cabinet conference, and they showed me their cloud app that they have on their phone, but your data has to be on the cloud to use it. And I love the app. I can think of so many things I would do with it, but unfortunately, because of my industry, I'm not allowed to use it, or boy, I would be.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. Thanks again. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Now for you, Rowan. Thanks. Now for you, Rowan, so much of your story was around your own internal successes and how you better collaborated with your colleagues just to be more efficient, be more innovative. How did you drive employee engagement during that same project?
So absolutely, it was critical that we drove the employee engagement. We recognised that we needed people, really kind of understanding why we were doing it, and, that we took people on the journey, as I said during my top tips. So we used webinars to make sure that we were really kind of educating and teaching people how to use the tools that were available. Also just making sure that people understood all of the tools that we had. I think as we move into kind of, digital technology, there's lots of things that become available to us. So it's just making sure that people have that awareness in the first place. We ran, as I say, a number of webinars, and we kind of revisited those a couple of times as well to make sure that people could attend them, but we also checked and balanced knowledge at the end of them, and we took feedback at the end of those through surveys. We also had paperless champions. I think on our slides you will have seen that we had T-shirts printed up, and we had people around the office who were really there to kind of be on point and be able to help and support people with questions that they might have. And as I'd said kind of earlier, we really used recognition to make sure that the people that were really kind of adopting the paperless ways were kind of recognised within the business, and that they were go-to people that other employees could talk to, and we were really getting that best practice shared across the organisation.
Thanks. And what were the results of your journey and your transformation? What metrics did you use to measure those results? How did you do that?
So we looked at a few things, and as we kind of started off the journey, we were really looking at the cost-saving implications that we would get from not printing, both through the saving on paper, but also on the saving of ink cartridges and things. Actually, for us as a business, I guess we are a digital organisation, and we adopt quite a lot of digital technology already. So actually, we don't print that much already. So we made some savings around paper and print cartridges, but that wasn't our main benefit. Our main benefit was around the productivity gains that people made. So on average, people were making up to 3 hours per week of productivity gain, and that was not sitting in a meeting, writing notes on paper, and then transposing those onto a digital format to send to a customer. It was, as you talked about earlier, just being able to find information, not having to hunt around on previous notebooks and things like that, being able to easily kind of access the information. I think Chris was kind of referencing that same point, and I definitely found that for myself, and I can really kind of tune into that as the benefits that I found personally around it. We also found that actually, people are happier, and it was something that really brought people together because we had a kind of a common purpose in what we were trying to achieve. In my team, I'd set the challenge that I wanted them to become the first team across our business to become truly paperless, and that was something that really kind of brought us together and has given us, an image and an identity that we work to, and it's something that we can talk to our customers about and share our own experiences with them.
Thanks. And one of our audience members asked a great question I think you'd be ideal to answer. We are just starting a business assessment on defining areas and projects to tackle in advance of moving into a new office. Can you recommend a tool or a list of questions that we should be asking ourselves or considering that would assist us in conducting an assessment of how we can digitize and automate some things in advance of that?
Yeah, absolutely, a great question. So as I say, we've been kind of looking at how we can help our customers around exactly, these kind of experiences. So the approach that we would take with a customer would be that we would have one of our consultants spend time in that, customer or prospect office, getting to know more about the business and identifying the areas where we could make benefits and that technology could be deployed to help them. We use an assessment tool which has a number of questions that we would run through so that we can kind of really get to understand the organisation and be able to then talk about the benefits that be able to be derived by a paperless initiative. I think, what our recommendation would be the experience that we had ourselves, that you take it in trial phases, not to try and just kind of go head on kind of into it. You need to take it a step at a time, do the first trial, reassess it, understand the results, take the feedback on board, make tweaks and changes where necessary, and then, go into the second phase and see how it kind of progresses from there.
Thank you. We would like to remind our audience to not only send in some questions. We've done a first round, but given the number of them, we'll probably do another round of those. And at the same time, please use the group chat to engage with each other and also to submit your own tips that you'd like to share. Let me start with one tip. It might stimulate a few of you, some others, to do the same. This one comes from Kevin, who says that whenever I'm given paper statements of work or other project documents, I scan and OCR them just for my own benefit. Then I try to get my clients to go digital from the very beginning. That's not an easy task, but as we said, if you push back and when someone says, oh, could you please print this and sign it and scan it and then send it back, just say, I'm afraid I can't do that. Do you have a WUFU form or something else? So yeah, challenge everybody to do that, but certainly stop paper as it's coming in. Good tip, and thanks for that, Kevin. While we let the rest of you submit a few other tips, why don't we do another round of questions, because we've really got some good ones here, and I'll come on back to you, Bruce. This is something I think you probably know the answer to, and it refers to SharePoint. One of our audience users is particularly interested in understanding how SharePoint can be integrated with some of the solutions that you and Claudia talked about, or used generally to go more paperless.
Well, SharePoint is certainly a popular repository for images and documents of all kinds, and many of our customers are leveraging SharePoint, and we're seeing SharePoint grow in popularity. So pretty much any of the solutions I think that you're hearing from today all would integrate with SharePoint and have some direct connection to SharePoint and be able to support you in enabling SharePoint as a repository. As it related to Claudia and what their solution was, is there was a two-path system. The data had to go to Sage, but yet we wanted to make a reference to the images and the invoices in Sage that provided a link to where they were hosted in SharePoint 365. So it was hosted online in the Microsoft Cloud. The images of the invoices would reside there, while the data would have a reference within Sage, so they could pull up the invoice and view the invoice and see the invoice. So that's how Wildman implemented it. But the SharePoint is a very, very popular back-end system. A lot of people use it for workflow, and so it is a very compelling solution for many customers today that pretty much every vendor needs to be able to interact with.
Yeah, good point. It is ubiquitous in many, many ways, and knowing what the good hooks are to optimize it is always key, and I know Abby in particular can help there. So thank you. A question for you, Jim, given that Gerard certainly is a financial services expert. This question comes from another banking user out there who asks whether you, and maybe if it just relates to Gerard's story, have an average of how much the productivity can grow because of going paperless in a process. And if you don't have an exact figure, maybe cite some of your own key metrics that you would apply.
Thanks, Peggy. Yeah, that's a great question in terms of savings or in terms of the accuracy. There's a lot of different ways to look at automating manual processes and trying to get an idea of, how much is that going to save you over a certain period of time, and how many full-time employees might you have the ability to reallocate to more like customer service or revenue-generating positions. So what we generally see, and this is across the board, is that when implementing automated classification alone, so just manually sorting the documents and then transferring that into a software type environment where you're doing automated data or document classification, so very strong return on investment in general in that area, especially for banking and insurance, financial services in general. So that could be, 30, 40% improvements in productivity. We've also had the case of when implementing automated classification plus OCR to extract all the metadata, now you have the ability to really kick off workflows because you know what's in the document itself. So a lot of downstream and analytics, benefits in terms of cognitive and analytics, and you have the ability to save a lot more. So for instance, we have one large insurance company in the Midwest here that implemented the full suite of automation technologies. They were scanning at 3 locations, so about equal size, and they were able to shut down one of the 3 and concentrate everything at the 2 locations without increasing staff. So that was a great example. And again, that kind of points to a 30% plus savings in terms of return on investment and also in terms of timing. So the other big point or the big benefit is the ability to process more information quickly. So in the past, if you have those typical kind of 3 to 5 day processing times, now you're starting to cut that down to 2 to 3 hours. So yeah, benefits in terms of personnel savings as well as time.
Yeah, that's a big hit either way. Thanks. Thank you for that. Another question for you, Chris. Have you implemented your paperless initiative beyond the HR department? For example, enabling clinicians with paperless technology? Or is that just, don't go there?
Well, of course, we all use, or at least most people now are going to electronic medical records. So we're doing what we call physician order entry here, so that all of the physicians are using electronic systems to document and to place their orders for patients, do their admissions. All that is now done electronic. We don't want it in paper. So I've basically took everything away from the paper in HR. We've done that in education. We are trying to get our volunteer department all on track so that all their files can be done digital as well. I even have electronic bulletin boards or digital bulletin boards throughout my hospital. So instead of the old go stick a piece of paper up on the bulletin board, now from her desk, she can update all 20 bulletin boards throughout her hospital without having to leave her desk because it's all electronic.
That's great. And again, back to that, don't go digging for it and waste so much time there. That aligns very much with a tip from Alan in our audience, who said, he's going to take the key points from today's event, take the resources that we've provided, and put it on a company intranet or publish it electronically in a newsletter or whatever internal communication tool with a call to action to contact you for more information or discussion, anyone who's been a participant today. Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate that tip. A final question for you, Rowan. Your customers range in many sizes. For smaller organizations who might have a smaller ROI for going paperless just because of the volume or their annual turnover, any tips for how you justify going paperless if the returns aren't immediate or they aren't obvious, especially for employees who are more comfortable with paper? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So absolutely, I can kind of hear the point and understand, kind of people's concerns around that. And I think for us, whilst we drove benefits from a productivity perspective, that can be driven in any size of organization, because that's on an individual level. But I think one of the other, key benefits that can be driven is around security. There are all sorts of applications and tools and digital software that can help you with securing devices, but there's nothing available for a piece of paper, that can be left on a train or a plane or or lost anywhere. So I think, there's a huge advantage around security, and that can, you can look at that kind of from an overall organizational perspective. So I think, the productivity piece, I think the security piece, and also accumulating up a number of different activities that can, you can go paperless on, can help drive those ROIs as well, even in a smaller business.
Thank you. Yeah, it's there certainly are wins to be gained, and this tip from John in the audience is a good one. He says, in order to truly change that culture, and we've talked about the hesitancy in small and large organizations, but in order to change that mindset and promote paperless, don't forget to involve the leaders of your organizations. Oftentimes, they're the last ones to embrace digital for their own line of work. So try to lead by example and consider solutions like board portals and other communications tools. That's absolutely right, and AIM has always been an advocate, as I said in my little tips, is start with something that could make an impact, make sure it's not trivial, but make sure that it's doable. And once maybe your department succeeds in that, then laud that throughout your organization. And what we find even internally to AIM, we recently completed a project where we looked for a blended team, good representatives from the business, and these were process owners, and we know how busy people are. We added a little extra incentive to participate, be it a extra day off or something like that, and it was really, really rewarding to see how people came together and shared their different perspectives and basically got it done. And boy, did we promote the success of that throughout the organization. And other people wanted to feel the love and get on board the train. So start out small and see if you can get people excited and expand on that. Okay, well, thank you. Really had some incredible questions, really had some great tips, and as we said, if we didn't for some reason get to your question, we'll do that after the call and make sure that nobody's left with a burning question that didn't get answered. We want to remind everyone to avail yourselves of the resources that we have provided for you, and always available at any time on the AIM website. But now I think it's time to come to the moment that we've all been waiting for. We are going to let you in our audience choose our paper-free hero of 2006 from the 4 amazing case studies and stories that you just heard. You're seeing it when we at AIM are seeing it. So complete transparency. We're going to have the results show up live. So think about what you heard. Claudia's story at Wildman, presented by Abby and supported by Abby. We heard Gerard Lennox, Capitec Bank, courtesy of Dell EMC, and really, really appreciated all that. Wow, Chris Beebe telling his own personal story. Thanks to eFile Cabinet for that. And Rowan, who talked about what it's like to take your own solution and get your own colleagues to really embrace it and then roll it out to the customer. So who is your top paper-free hero? And we're going to let you vote with the poll right now. Give it one more minute. Results are coming in. Okay. And the top World Paper-Free Day hero for 2016 is Chris Beebe from Raleigh General Hospital. In spite of a kinky kind of video there, sorry about that. I should say hinky, not kinky. Chris, thanks so much for telling your story, and really we could feel your enthusiasm and your passion, and we'll certainly put you in touch with more folks who had asked some questions of you and want to know more about that. Chris and eFile Cabinet would like to donate to a charity of their choosing as thanks for being awarded this great honor today, and that's the United Way of Southern West Virginia. It's a nonprofit, of course, that addresses needs in education, income, and health in their region. They partner with individuals, local businesses, nonprofits, civic groups, faith-based organizations, educators, health services, government representatives, and others who bring the passion, expertise, and resources needed to get things done. That's the United Way of Southern West Virginia, who will receive a donation of $2,500. Again, we want to thank everybody and for sharing their story. You were fantastic and a great audience. And this is something that we hope to do every single year in honor of this day. And we couldn't have done it without our sponsors. That's Abby, Dell EMC, eFile Cabinet, and O2. Again, take advantage of AIIM's resources. Tune in often. We do webinars almost every week. We've got lots of great resources for you. Whether you're a veteran of AIIM or a newcomer, you have a home here. And as you can tell, we've got lots of experts on the practitioner side as well as the solution provider side. So this has been Peggy Winton and my colleague Allison Jersky, and we invite you to take what you learned today, go out and spread some paper-free love and advice. And we'll see you again next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.